searching for greatness in a sea of the dying and shameless. A sea of the aimless. I don't wanna be one of the nameless. I'ma wake up with the mindset that one day I'm gonna make it. And I don't think I'll be fine if I don't break my limitations. Don't try to stop me, I exist to write my own story. I'll make a decision if I want some peace or if I want the glory. Don't want a life that is complacent or possibly boring. Just want a life that is worth every day exploring. My whole life I just wanted someone who would notice me. My whole life I just wanted to be somebody to be. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Jam Session Goes Underground. I have a very, very special guest on today's episode. I am so extremely excited that they're here. I'm honored to have them here. And without further ado, may I introduce you to Queen of the Static Opera.
Hi.
Hey, thank you so much for being here.
No, thanks for having me.
So I guess we'll start with some general questions, if that's all right. When did you first get started in the music industry?
Well, I guess I officially launched my project like 2 or 3 years ago. Obviously I've been doing music for a really long time though. My dad was like a pretty professional kind of musician for a long time. So like I always kind of knew I could do it and was planning to do it. But I would say like, yeah, I officially joined and officially like got my project launched like 2 or 3 years ago.
So what was the first instrument that you learned to play?
Guitar.
Yeah. That's my instrument as well. I love the guitar. Who are some of your musical influences?
Let's see. There's a lot. I would say like Bjork, Tori Amos, PJ Harvey, and like kind of like a lot of the 90s alt women are really inspiring to me. I like a lot of older artists too, like I love like Nina Simone, I love Grace Jones, I love 9 Inch Nails, I love like, classic industrial and stuff too. I love like all the greats too. Like I have great admiration for like James Brown and Michael Jackson and stuff like that. And I'm just like a huge music fan. I just love music. So it's really long. I'm definitely gonna like look back at this and go, I forgot this person and this person. But yeah, it's like a lot of people. Lots of I guess like 90s industrial, grunge, punk, funk, soul, maybe a little jazz every now and then. It's a little hip hop. I kind of everywhere, all over the place. I like a lot of modern artists too, but the modern artists I usually gravitate towards are like usually kind of more in the genre bending spectrum of like people who just like put like every genre in their music, even if they're kind of limited usually by like the public's perception of them to like one thing. Like so like a lot of hip hop is like that now, I would say, because I really admire their production landscapes. So yeah, all over the place I guess with me, but there are some I guess like usually females who like produce their own music. Kate Bush, huge influence on me, like really inspire me. Females who play guitar, of course, really inspiring. Some of the figures I like are kind of controversial. Like I love like Kanye West and Courtney Love, and there are a lot of people who hate them, but I really like them. So yeah, lots of people could go on forever.
I can see that with your music. I've heard some of your music and you're very, very talented. I love your music and I love your styles.
Thank you. So
I was looking forward to having you on the show. I was like, she's amazing. I was telling everybody, I was like, her music is amazing. Listen to this. So I really do. I really do respect your music.
Thank you.
Where did Queen of the Static Opera come from? Like, how did you come up with that title?
Well, I came up with it like the bare end of my teenage years. It's in my 20s now, so it wasn't that long ago. But I came up with it, and it kind of came from, I was really into the Phantom of the Opera at that time. I was really into like opera and theater and stuff. Not like doing theater itself, but just like I liked it. I liked it aesthetically. And the static part came from the fact that like at that time I didn't have like a real studio. I was like broke. So like I was just making my own demos kind of like on my computer, like alone. I didn't have my bandmate that I usually work with now. So I came up with that name originally then. And the microphone I would sing on, it was like static. And I first came up with the name like Fucked Up Freak Opera from like a name generator, but I didn't really like the ring of that. And so like I added the static part, and I just decided I'm going to stick with this name because I kept coming up with different band names, and I'm like really into words. So I'm like good with words. And so I was like having a lot of trouble sticking to a name, but finally I just decided that's the name and kept it for a while now. So it's sticking, and it's my name.
It seems to work for you. It's a really good name.
A lot of people do like it. I like it too.
It's different. I like it. I gravitated toward it when I first seen Queen of the Static Opera. I'm like, huh, that's interesting.
I think
I know. Oh,
sorry,
go
go
ahead.
on.
I'm sorry.
I was gonna say it was definitely at the height of like my creativity as a poet when I came up with that name. Like I think for some reason, like though musically I've gotten better, I do feel like I was the best poet like during a certain phase of my life. And I'm not saying I'm not a good writer now, obviously, but I know like I was so prolific and like fast and able to come up with really good creative things back then. So like I'm glad I came up with the name during that period of my life. But yeah, for sure.
What was the first music venue that you ever played at, and what did that experience feel like?
Played like a good show or played like a bad show?
Either or.
Well, my first show I ever played at was in Minneapolis, where I'm from. And it was at this venue called the Red Sea. And it was an awful experience. But that was because like I got like way too drunk and like totally fucked up my show. It was awful. But since then I've had like a lot of really good shows too. So like it was a learning experience. Yeah. And I'm totally fine with it. And it was a difficult phase of my life. And that's kind of what I wrote my first album about too, like that phase of my life. So it ended up working out well. I'm not sure if I've had good shows in Minneapolis too. Like it wasn't just a bunch of shitty shows, but my first show was bad. Yeah. It wasn't bad like because I was bad. It was bad because I was like too drunk, really. So some honesty for you.
Honesty is good. It's just a learning experience. So, something good came out of it. You wrote, an album from that. So I would say that, it wasn't a total loss.
From that phase of my life, like I definitely learned. Well, I think I'm glad I got that kind of stuff out of my system really early on, because then when I was actually playing shows that mattered, like I was like, I don't drink now. So like I'm stark sober and like fully in my headspace and able to like, because when you're drunk, you can't really hear what you sound like. You know what I mean? You're just like, oh, I'm so good. And you're like awful. Yeah. I did like yell at the sound guy too, because I was just like way into being punk rock. And like, it was just too much. Like, I was like mad, and I don't know, it was a bad experience. I feel I'm never going to go back and play there for sure. I mean, I probably could, to be honest. It's been so long. And like, usually when venues like, smaller venues especially look at my following, they'll just like let me play, but
yeah,
I don't want to go back there personally. There are some venues in Minneapolis I want to play that I think I'm going to play actually, but like that's not one of them.
Yeah. This goes well with the next question. What would your dream venue be? Like if you could play anywhere, where would that be?
That is such a good question. I would love to play. Well, I want to play First Avenue in Minneapolis in the main room, and that's Prince's old club. And I want to play in LA. I want to play like the Hollywood Bowl. I think that would be great. It's a really big venue, but yeah, that's what I would like to play. I saw a show yesterday. I saw Tori Amos at the, what's it called? Okay, I'm blanking on the name. Fuck. hold on, it was the something or where's my phone? I could look it up. Whatever. I saw Tori Amos in this venue yesterday that was like really pretty, and it was like an old theater, and it was something with like the like an O. My mind is going to the Ordway, and that's not what it's called. That's like a venue in Minneapolis, but like it was like this theater, and I would love to play in like more venues like that where it's like a giant theater. But obviously that would be like in the future for me. But yeah, maybe if I could get an opening slot somewhere or something.
But that would be awesome. I'll keep my fingers crossed for you because you deserve to be in a huge venue. Like I said, I love your music so much.
I so appreciate how genuine you are. I like totally feel the honesty about it. Thank you.
I was nervous for this interview. I'll be honest. I was like, I'm a little nervous because I love her music so much. And to me and to probably a whole bunch of people, you're a big deal. So I was like, I'm nervous about this interview because I just appreciate that you're here and you're, doing an interview with me.
No, sometimes I appreciate hearing about it too, because sometimes I think because I'm an independent artist and you compare yourself to like really big scale artists that have a bunch of fake numbers and like fake fans and huge teams, and you're like, do I really matter? But then you hear like the people who really love your music out there and like really matter, how much you really matter to them, like even if you're not like I'm not a big artist, like big artist yet, but like it's still beautiful to hear. And I do have you're right, I have like a very passionate fan base for sure, and I love them. They're amazing.
And that's, like I've talked about this with other guests, some guests have said that they would much rather have like a crowd of 100 people who really, really appreciate their music compared to like 10,000 people in because they feel like the audience connects more with them and they appreciate their music more. I know that I've had several guests that have said that, that it's not about the amount of the crowd, it's about the loyalty of the crowd.
Well, and with like the kind of stuff I do, which is like, it's not, it's not really, it's pop adjacent, but it's never going to be like mainstream pop.
Yeah.
The people that gravitate towards my music are usually just like the most quality people in my opinion, and I love that. Like they're all so smart and have like really good taste, and they're just wonderful usually. So yeah, I definitely agree. When you're kind of niche, especially doing like intelligent music, for lack of a better word, I mean that sounds like I think I'm really smart. I'm intelligent, but no, but I mean it's true. Like when you're trying to do something that's not I heard the term of like, it's like selling like it's like, do you want to be like the Diet Coke of the world and have like everyone like you, or do you want to be like a specialty drink or something? I'd rather be the fancy specialty drink that like, than to dumb myself down to be an artificial product that gives you cancer, even though I like Coke, but yeah, that's beside the point. Meanwhile, I'm just like bashing Diet Coke because I'm like, oh, that sounds good. Maybe I'll have a Diet Coke.
I got you. I've never really looked at it that way, but yeah, I'd have to agree. I wouldn't want to, be like everybody else. I would much rather march to the beat of my own drum. I'm an artist before musician. Like I paint and I do mixed media art, and I always tell people my style is completely different and I'm going to keep it that way. I don't want to conform myself to what's thought to be normal in society. I'd much rather be unique.
Well, and people identify with you when you're like standing for something unique. And to be honest too, that is how big artists are created, because eventually people start to follow because people aren't looking for that artificially manufactured, like, I'm trying not to name artists because I don't want to bash anybody, but like artificially manufactured kind of pop stuff where like it's very fleeting too. Like they're not really necessarily going to love you forever. You know what I mean? Where like if you're a smaller artist, sometimes you mean so much to them. Like these people will like love you forever. And I feel like that about smaller artists. There are artists I like who are, in retrospect, when you look at them, like they're famous, but they're not like extremely famous, but like they mean so much to me, And so I'm glad I can be that for other people. It's an honor.
That's awesome. Are there any projects that you can talk about that you're working on currently?
Yeah, I'm working on new music, 100%. I think I'm going to release the new songs soon. I'm going to be shooting a music video soon with my friend from the band Angel Spit. Um, and I am working on a new album right now, and there's some other things in the works, but I don't want to like tell stuff before
Yeah.
it's ready, and
That's
then like disappoint
understandable.
people because nothing comes of it or something. But I'm working on new music. I really want to release them, and I'm gonna probably release a new song soon. It'll probably only be on Bandcamp, most likely at first, because Bandcamp is the holy grail for indie, and that's where we must go. So probably Bandcamp, and I'm really excited because I've been sitting on this song for like a year, and I really wanted to release it. And yeah, I'm working on new material. I'm trying to get a little more into. Um, I don't even actually talk too much about the music yet because I don't know what it's going to be like. But yeah, I'm working on it. I've got more music in the works.
You got stuff in the works.
Yeah, soon.
Well, I'll be excited and looking forward to hearing it.
There are at least 2 new songs are coming out like within the next couple months at the very least. Maybe
awesome.
sooner than that too, honestly. At least within like this summer, like 2 songs probably. And then after that, I'm not sure if I'm going to, because this market is kind of like people don't really care about albums. I want to put together an album, but I might end up just releasing it song by song and then eventually just putting out the entire album. I'm not sure. But yeah.
This leads into another good question. If people want to get like any of your merchandise or find any of your music, where can they do that?
Bandcamp is the best place for buying that stuff, in my opinion. If you really want to support me directly, you can just also like DM me on Instagram. I take forever to get through to replies because I have a lot of DMs, but I do get through eventually. I feel bad about it too because like it's just overwhelming all the time. And like I used to be the artist that like I replied to everybody all the time, and I try to be that artist still, but it's like exhausting. And I have to have energy to like breathe and work and create my art and stuff like that. So, but yeah. Also, I'm on Spotify, Apple Music, all those places. You can purchase Queen of the Static Opera, the first 2 EPs, the Spaceships, and yada yada. And I'm merch is like. I have merch, but I did run out a lot of a lot of my merch. But if there is like, so sometimes people DM me every now and then, and I'm like, I don't think I have any merch left, and I feel bad about that. So merch is very limited because I do a lot of it myself, essentially. Like I print them out myself, and usually I like just design them with my friend. Like my friend who's an artist, she helps me design a lot of the merch. But I'm planning on setting up like a more proper merch shop soon. So just like follow me on Instagram and keep updated on that.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any music prepared for today? Like you didn't have to, but I was just curious.
I could play maybe a clip of a new song.
Yeah, if you want to.
I don't know how it's going to sound though, because it would just be playing from my laptop onto the speaker. It would probably not be like the best listening format.
Either or, I mean, you don't have to. It's cool.
Okay, I'm going to release a clip of it really soon anyway. I think there's actually already maybe a clip of it out there technically, but I'm going to release it like officially soon. Yeah.
My director's saying that guests can screen share if you wanted to screen share it, but it's okay. It doesn't matter. It's either or, whatever you're comfortable with. This is an easy peasy show, so.
That makes sense, right? I could screen share. You know what? I'll play a clip of it.
Okay.
Why not? I remember my bandmate last time I did a show like this, and when I was talking about the song, he's like, "You could just play it." Like, so now I guess I'll play it since that's the thing. Let me just pull it up on my computer.
Cool. Thank you.
Finder. My desktop is a mess though. so many files. Oh, there it is. Okay. I was trying to film something to it, so I really want to put it out soon. But I'm really excited to put it out too. Okay, I'm gonna screen share if it lets me. And then if I screen share when I play it, it should like play, right?
It should.
Okay. Do you want to hear the whole song? Should we just like
it's up
premiere
to
the whole
you,
song?
whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, of course, unless it doesn't let me. Now it says I need to upgrade something.
Oh, it's okay. It's all right.
No. Okay, so I guess I can't do that. I really wanted to. Oh, well.
It's okay. We can catch it, on
I wanted
Instagram. It's all right. I appreciate you trying.
Yeah.
So I know that you've had interviews with podcasts and some interviews with magazines. What was that like? Like it says here, Soundsphere magazine. What was the interview with them like? What was that experience like?
Well, that was more of a I've gotten interviewed by a couple decent publications, but most of them have been interviews like usually they just send you questions, you just kind of like type answers.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do like obviously podcasts. I like those more because they're like a conversation.
Yeah.
I have been like I remember I got in one. I don't know if it was Soundsphere or it was a different magazine. Like there was one magazine I got in that Gary Newman was also in, and that was like very impressive to me.
That is pretty impressive.
Because it was very impressive to me because also especially like when I started making my music when I was like 15, my mom was like a Gary Newman fan, and she'd be like, "Oh, your Gary Newman songs." Like she used to call them my Gary Newman songs. So then like I randomly got in the magazine with Gary Newman. I'm like, "Mom, like look at this." Remember you said them was my weird Gary Newman songs because like my parents were musicians, but they didn't do like electronic music. They were, and my mom loves electronic music, and so did my dad. But they were like, my mom's a bass player, my dad was a guitar player, so they were like more in like the normal kind of like rock realm, and like I was, found my identity more in like the electronic kind of realm. So that was cool. I like that was like that made me feel honored for sure. Yeah.
That's when I would be like, I've made it. I'm in a magazine with it.
That was cool. And for sure. And then also I got my song posted on Mute Records page. That was also like very like an honor for me too, because they're like the label that discovered like Depeche Mode and like Nick Cave and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, how did I get on here? This is amazing. I don't even know why they like did that, but yeah. Thank God. Thank you, Daniel Miller. If you ever hear this ever, like, I love you and appreciate you so much. Yeah.
Do you have like any weird like fan experience stories that you can talk about?
I have none in person because usually if people come to venues to see me, they're too scared to talk to me, which is really weird. Like you guys, or if they do talk to me, they don't say who they are, so I don't really know. Like they might just like come up to me and try to talk to me, and I have no idea who you are. So you could just be like a random weird guy or something, especially. But I do have some definitely weird. I get some pretty weird DMs, that's for sure. Like people who will continuously like message me or call me when I like don't reply, and it's just like very weird, or like people who are like send me pictures of your feed and stuff like that, just like weird people. 100%. Or like definitely lots of things like that.
I know one of my people who usually watch the show, one of my audience members, she usually asks, how do you deal with fans? Like, how do you deal with, actually having fans and people paying more attention to you?
Well, you definitely are going to get criticism. So for me, I kind of just, if I like get criticized, or if it's some kind of negative thing, which it's usually not, like overall is generally positive, but every now and then if you get something negative, I just kind of take it as a sign that I'm relevant enough for people to hate on me. And I'm like, that is cool. to me.
Yeah.
So I don't really even take it seriously. It doesn't really bother me very much. And then when in terms of the people who love you, because I obviously I get people who are like, you're amazing and I love you and blah, blah, blah. In truth, I realized recently, because one of my roommates gave me this phrase, imposter syndrome. I realized I kind of have imposter syndrome a little bit. So like it doesn't really go to my head because I kind of just like feel like I'm tricking everybody into thinking it's good, which is stupid. It doesn't even make sense. Like I write my songs and like I play several instruments and like you're listening to my voice. You know what I mean? Like, and this is all my ideas. So there's no reason for me to not take credit for it. But I think because I have that kind of sense of like, don't be too inflated, that I'm just very appreciative of it usually. So my advice would be to people who are building fan bases and like are getting used to having actual fans, don't let it go to your head because it could disappear like that. All of them treat them like, you know, friends and people. That's how I usually think of a lot of them too. I don't even really like thinking of them as fans because it feels egocentric and uncomfortable, and compared to where I want to be, which I'm still building my career, I'm not even where I want to be. So like I always have that hunger of like, this isn't good enough, you know. Even though I am like for sure in the underground community, which is amazing, and I love the underground, like the show title. That I do though, and I love to talk to them, ones who are especially other artists as well, because they really just like, they're all like interesting, unique artists on their own, you know. A lot of times, a lot of artists just aren't like, their music is good enough, but they're just not good at, you know, the people skills part, like promoting and talking.
Mm-hmm.
I've starting to get to know people who are in the music industry that are better at the people skills part than I am. And it's really hard. It's a lot of work to do this and be an introvert, which is I'm actually an introvert, though I do talk a lot, obviously, what's going on. But like I'm actually an introvert, so that's really what's held me back from getting further even in my life. I'm lucky the internet exists, because I think I'm like definitely I'm made for the internet for sure, because I'm not someone who's good at networking events when I'm like in the rooms with big people, which I have been. I'm not good at it. Like I try, you know, but it's not what I'm naturally good at. I got good at being an artist because I would just like lock myself in a room and create. And that's why I'm so good at so many things. That sounds really arrogant, but you know, not like super good at so many things, but I've gotten skills at many things. Like that's why I can play multiple instruments. That's why I write. Like I wrote out like the fucking music video script the other day that like I'm doing, you know, like me and Carl from Angel Spit came up with the idea together. And like, you know, I shoot my own music videos and I do all my styling, costuming. Usually I'll get help maybe from like my best friend or something if I'm going to enlist somebody's help. So obviously, yeah, I have people who help me, but it's everything I do kind of lands on my shoulder in the end. Like I'm the CEO of Queen Aesthetic Opera. Mm-hmm. So there's always going to be kind of like a side of me that knows like, really, I'm just here because I was kind of like an introverted loner who just, you know, even if I'm popular now on the internet anyway, popular-ish, like, you know, I still am just kind of at my heart a kid who was sort of using my imagination to like escape, you know, and dream. And I think I'm really glad too that I'm not a big artist like yet, like they're not super big yet, because while I've had these successes and things I've done that I'm very proud of, like playing certain shows at certain venues, I love Bar Sinister, like I love playing there. It's like so cool. It's like the biggest goth club in LA. Like having me back there, I'm so honored. And I mean like the people like that are on the bill with, like I'll get billed with, like I got billed with this guy who wrote on 9 Inch Nails' first album, like last time I was there, and I was so honored. So I was like, oh my God, I used to just be this kid in Minnesota, like who was kind of obsessed with, you know, just like certain artists, and here I am. So like I'm even honored and flattered by like those little kind of achievements mean so much to me. So I know I'm really happy there's more to achieve actually, because like I'd probably get bored if like I, you know, had everything handed to me. Like I like that feel like I'm truly earning my achievements. There are a lot of artists who, I think some artists, I don't know how some of them get their spots. I'm sure there are people who just like, you know, there are probably people who work really hard and just like play shows and get in that way. And then there are probably people who like just buy their way in and stuff like that. But I'm not in a position to have it handed to me. So like I've had to work for it. I've had to prove myself. I still have to prove myself. I still get underestimated, especially being a girl. And but you know, I like to prove them wrong. So yeah, that's what I really like.
That's awesome. Like I can see that, you know, I was a jazz guitarist and I was the only female guitarist.
Yeah.
On
I mean, first off, kudos to you because you're probably great. Jazz
it's been a while since I played, but
jazz guitar, you'll have to send me a video. But like jazz guitar is very difficult, in my opinion. So kudos to you.
Oh, well, thank you.
But you're right, 100%. And that's funny because I went to performing arts high school for like 1 year, or like half a year. And what's so odd is I was so shy, and like my dad was a really talented guitarist. So and a guitar teacher already. So he just taught me guitar when I was like 10. So I didn't really need to go to classes. But I should have went into the guitar or singing section of the school. And I didn't. Instead, I was like, I'm going to learn dance. Like, I don't even know why. Like, if I look back on it, like, man, I should have just joined the guitar because it was mostly guys. And I know I would have been like one of the few women there, you know?
Yeah.
And I probably would have been a little bit better at guitar. Not that I'm bad now. I mean, I'm pretty decent, but I digress. I think it helped though to learn stage skills because dancing on stage, it's a lot of like nerves and bravery. And if you don't have a band, which sometimes I play with a band, but sometimes I play with like out of band, you have to have the guts to really be able to go up there and sell it, you know, like even with, my mind just blanked, to sell it and sell yourself and be comfortable moving on stage and be comfortable with music. So I'm also part of there's like a thing I heard about Kate Bush recently that she was like part of this belief that like your body, the creativity from your body is linked to the creativity with your mind. So I think that, and I agree with that. So I think like also learning to dance helped me become a more creative person because I already had the guitar. I mean, I was around instruments my whole life. So like I was always trying to play piano and I had my guitar and I obviously was always trying to sing. But like when I learned dance, it was just like another tool and another way to connect my mind and body and be in a fuller creative place. I don't know if you've noticed, but like I actually really like to take being an artist in sort of more of an old school way than how a lot of artists are. So many artists, it becomes more like their social media is like almost more their art form than their actual art. Like it's about like, what can they do on TikTok that will get, you know, shares, and they have to spend so much energy doing that. And it's not that that's not an art form either, because it's hard. I mean, I do that as well. Yeah. But like the attention to art as a craft, you know, has diminished for a lot of people my age, especially, which is why usually I go back to older artists a lot of the times too. Not like they're that old, but, you know, like artists from like pre-2000s, because, you know, it was before the internet. So it was like less about image. It was more about like your skill level. And I really want to bring that kind of creative, that peak into my music eventually. I don't think I'm there yet, but I definitely feel closer than I've ever been, and I'm more comfortable with who I am as an artist than I've ever been. I used to be a lot more critical of myself, and now I feel like, I mean, I'm still critical, but I do like what I do, and I'm proud of my albums. I'm proud of the songs I've made. I'm proud of what I've contributed to them, and what my bandmates contributed to them, and what we've come together and make. I realized too, like so many people, so many artists, you think it's like just them, and it's actually like a whole team of people. So I'm really proud. It was just like me and my friend have managed to make, you know, quality music, like, because it's kind of unheard of in a lot of circles. I mean, especially especially in those pop circles where they have like 20 writers on a song. I don't even understand. Like I don't understand. I mean, I guess I don't know. But if you look at really great artists, it's like, well, like take like Queen or something. That's like 4 guys, you know, just like writing in a room. I think, and I'm not saying either, like there aren't like, I do respect somebody like a Beyonce or something like that. Like I respect them for what they do. They're talented. I'm not saying they're not talented. And a lot of times too, it's not that they can't write alone. It's that the label doesn't let them write alone. And they still have like exceptionally creative people. Like don't get me wrong, those people are so creative. But I do think it gets a little, some of the art, not Beyonce in particular, before anybody attacks me, some of the art gets kind of watered down a little bit. So, and
I can see that.
Sorry, I rambled a lot because I just had my coffee and I feel so happy.
No, this interview is great. Thank you. Sometimes I have guests that don't know what to talk about and they're like, I
can talk about myself forever. Oh my God. No, I love talking. I mean, artists, music and art is all I do. I've really planned to do this very professionally. So I really like doing these interviews too. And I think if I get bigger as an artist, which I'm hoping I will, I think I'll look back on these kind of interviews when I'm like at my peak and be like, you know, this was like such an amazing time in my life where I was like really learning to grow as an artist and stuff like that. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate that you can talk about yourself. Then there's no like blank air.
I know, right? Oh my God. That's how I talk just in general too. Sometimes I'm really quiet though. Like if I go out with a group of people, I'm really shy actually. People have to like engage me with questions because like otherwise I might not say anything. But
I guess I could ask, you've kind of touched base on it here and there, but what is your creative process? Like what process do you go through when you write songs and you do your music?
Well, my creative process, it is different on every song and it's kind of different. Some of my songs I'd written, I would just kind of like write the core of the song like alone, usually maybe on like one instrument, like my song Delete, for an example. I just wrote that like with an organ in my vocal. I think I started writing it and my bandmate, and then maybe I think he gave me like I think we kind of went back and forth on a couple of little things. Then we sort of like developed the song. Or like another song, but sometimes the songs is like, I wrote a song called Venus, which is a really old song. And I wrote that song like alone in my room on a guitar. And now it has no guitar in the actual song, but that's where I wrote the melody from, was on a guitar. Or like Fatal, like I wrote that song with a guitar. Sometimes too, my bandmate and I just get in a room together and we just like, you know, kind of jam it out too. Right now I'm really into the process of like kind of just being alone at first, because I really want to get back into like kind of the creative headspace I was in when I first formed Queen of the Stag Opera, which is, I feel like even if my skills weren't as proficient back then, I was like creatively in a really good space because I would just sit like alone and write and like make entire songs and just like make song after song after song, and a lot of them didn't get, you know, nothing happened to them. But like, so right now I'm kind of into just starting a song like on my own, producing it like on my own at first, singing the demo vocals even on my own, and then like sending it to, you know, then bringing it to my bandmate who will then like add stuff to it and be like, make this and blah, 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 mixing and engineering and all that. Sometimes too, if it's a collaboration, it's different too. Like me and my friend from Angel Spit, like we made this song and we just like literally like we wrote this song over Zoom or something, like several Zoom sessions, and then we just like kept sending the vocal because I really like worked hard on the vocal, and I'm excited for people to hear this song too because I really think like my voice on the chorus is kind of like doing a new thing people haven't heard yet from my skill set. But like we just like sent the vocal back and forth. Like I would sing it and then he'd sing it a different way, and then I would sing it a different way, taking from what he did, and then we just like keep going back and forth until we're like, this is it. So yeah, it really depends. It's different. I'm I'm interested in. So yeah, I don't know. It's different all the time, but like the actual writing process itself, if I'm like writing a song, usually it goes from like I either I'll have like some instrumental from like somebody I'm working with that to start with, or I'm just like playing an instrument. So I have some chords, right? Or I have a riff, or I have a beat I made, or something like that. I'll write like a really shitty scratch vocal because every vocal that I first write is not good. Like, but then I go through it kind of until it's good, essentially. I rewrite a lot. Like a lot of times I'll write lyrics and I will rewrite them because I don't like them. Sometimes the first draft of the lyrics works though, which is weird. Like one of my new songs, I like wrote it really fast and it's like kind of melodically and lyrically, in my opinion, one of the best things I've made, but that's obviously for people to decide, not really me, but that's what I think. And so yeah, it's different all the time. There's really no one way to write. It depends on like who you're writing with. Are you writing alone? A lot of times though, I too like to bring a song to them, or if I'm going to collaborate with somebody, I like to eventually take the song and do it alone and then send them my idea because I think I thrive more alone. Unless like maybe with my bandmate, because I know my bandmate so well, like that we can write things together and it'll work because I'm really comfortable with him. But when I'm collaborating with other producers or writers, then I definitely like to take some time with the song to be alone with it and just work on it. It's a labor of love too. Like really a good song doesn't really come fast, in my opinion. I mean, not saying you can't write it in like a couple days or a day, but you need to rewrite it. Like the first draft of it will probably never not be at the quality, at least that I want. That was a really long answer. Sorry. I kept going.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
It was a perfect answer.
I mean, it's just real too. Like if you look at like a lot of really good artists, it's like they spend a lot of time on their material. That's why, it takes people a long time to do albums sometimes too. And you also have to have the inspiration for it, which is like this magical gift that basically gets dropped from the sky. Because you'll be like, everything you write will suck. And then suddenly like it comes to you and you're like, this is it. And it's great. Yeah. And yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah.
That's how I am with my poetry. Like I'll be asleep and a poem will come to me in the middle of my sleep and I'll be like, I got to write that down. That's why I keep a notebook by my bed at all times, because usually my poetry comes to me at like 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Oh my God. Working late at night. Yeah. I used to work at all sorts of odd hours and I still do. It's just kind of about when you're inspired to do it, is when you should take that kind of nugget of inspiration. And sometimes too, like when I write lyrics and poetry, I'll just like, I have like, usually they're honestly not notebooks anymore, but I used to write in notebooks, but now they're just kind of like computer files or on my phone. And I just have like tons of lyrics I can just go to and just like, I'll use one line from some random thing I wrote like 2 months ago. Then I'll like add that to whatever I'm writing now. If I get stuck on something, like it's good to have like a collection of stuff to draw from.
Yeah,
and
most definitely.
Always get it out. Like I think no matter what, like even if you don't think it's good, just like get it out, write it down, and then just like let it sit there and you don't have to use it. And then you might look back at it later and go, this is really good, and then want to use it. Like there's a song I wrote like 2 months ago. I haven't recorded yet, but I really like the song and I know I'm going to do something with it eventually. But because I remember it. And if I like of all the songs I've written, I know it's good because I remember it. If it wasn't good, I would have forgotten about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can understand that. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about before we wrap up this interview?
I don't really think I have anything else.
Okay.
Yeah. If you have anything to ask me.
I think you've pretty well answered a lot of my questions. I just appreciate that you have taken the time to be on this show and taken the time to do this interview with me. We really appreciate it. And we do have other shows in the network that may want to reach out and do an interview with you as well, if you would be up for it.
Yeah. If you're listening, other shows, you can contact me a myriad of ways. I don't know if I just used that word right. Whatever. You can also hit me up at queenofstackopera@gmail.com for probably the fastest reply, but you can message me otherwise and I will answer.
Well,
Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Yeah.
I mean, you can hear her music on Bandcamp and Spotify, YouTube. I've caught you on YouTube, and then Instagram. You're on there, so go and listen to her music because it's really awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And to all the audience members who will be watching this, thank you so much for tuning in and watching this program. I wouldn't have this program without you all. So thank you very much again, Queen of the Static Opera. I appreciate it. Until next time.